Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you are in the world, welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Carl Anthony, and this is Auto Vision News live at InCabin from the Auto World Museum in Brussels, Belgium. This is the inaugural InCabin event from Sense Media, following an exciting 2 days of AutoSense on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're joined here on the mezzanine by Peter Tiberg. Now, Peter began working with Tobii in 2011, and he's now heading the company's automotive segment. It was in 2013 that Peter moved his focus to bring Tobii eye tracking to consumer devices and applications. He was responsible for Tobii's efforts to partner with global consumer electronics companies, and he built a strong sales team in Asia during those years. He joins us here as part of our InCabin conference. Peter, welcome and good to see you again.
Thank you, Carl. It's good to be here.
Indeed. So, Peter, let's talk about the technology and the solutions that you have as part of Tobii, but in particular the demonstration that you have here right now today.
Yes, for Tobii this is an important event. This is the first time we started our driver monitoring efforts and the development during the pandemic.
Yes.
So this is the first time we actually have a chance now to come out and show what we've been developing over the last couple of years. So what we have here is our car, where we have our software libraries for driver monitoring. Of course, you've tried it, and what we really want to show here is the capabilities that we've built into the system in terms of reducing the total solution cost for the OEMs.
Right.
So some of the examples there is that in the car here, as you saw, we have 3 different cameras.
Yes.
And we can switch seamlessly between those 3 cameras with the same algorithms, just updating the geometry in the car for those camera positions.
Right.
And that is one way then to save money for the OEMs, not to have to do any new data collections when you're changing between one car model and another.
Yes.
You just need one configuration file update, and then you go with the next car model.
Yes.
So that's one example.
Yes, and the not having to do the additional training models. Anders, your colleague, isolated just to the A-pillar and mentioned that exact same thing. I did indeed come from the demonstration before we sat down. And what I tried to do while I was in your vehicle is mimic driving in Detroit. And so for viewers who have been to Detroit, you might know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't been, just picture in your city or your home one of the busiest thoroughfares or roadways that you can imagine. For us, that's I-696 in Detroit. So when I'm heading into the city or heading back home, you're traveling at very high rates of speed, 70 to 80 miles per hour, and probably even some drivers over that. So when you're driving and you need to pass or change lanes, you have to make very quick decisions. So you look in your left mirror, you look in your rear view mirror, you hit the blinker, you look at your center console to check your speed, then you move, and then when you go around the other vehicle, then you're doing the same thing. You're checking your right mirror, checking rear view, checking yours. I tried to do that, and your system, Peter, was so responsive. As quick as I could move my head, left mirror, rear view, center console, right mirror, center console. I followed the whole thing, left mirror. Incredibly responsive to, how do you do that? I was blown away.
Well, the quick answer, I have no idea. But I think the engineering team here, we started about 2.5 years ago when we said, okay, now we're moving into the DMS space. We had the Euro NCAP and the GSR requirements coming. We also saw at that point sort of an inflection point with the technology that we wanted to use. It was possible to use that technology. So we said, okay, now we believe we can disrupt the market and we can come with a solution that both solves all the problems we want to solve for safety, but doing that in a cost-efficient way.
Of course.
So I think that was sort of what we started with. And then I think a lot has to do with how we're handling data and data strategies. But as the essence of it is, once this now goes into the high volume safety space, and it needs to work for NCAP and GSR, but it needs to work for safety reasons.
Right.
Then I think I'm so happy to hear that you've got this experience, because that's sort of been the foundation of what we've done the whole time. We have to create the best robust system out there in the market that works for everybody always.
Right. Right, and works in the real world.
And works in the real world with sunlight coming in and so on. And it's all about the sort of the data strategy that you have to ensure that you're handling all these different scenarios.
Right. Our viewers will notice that I have my Detroit Lions hat in front. I drive with a hat on. I have sunglasses on. Of course, your demonstration, you have hats available. I had sunglasses on and still the same thing. So tremendous feedback from me.
Thank you, Carl. You didn't try with the mask?
I did not try with the mask, but it was okay with my beard.
Oh, yeah. Good. Good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
So we talked a little bit about cost reduction. So obviously, I'm sure we're going to hit that a little bit more. But what are some of the biggest challenges now that your customers are facing in the market? And then ultimately, how do you help them overcome those challenges?
Well, again, you just mentioned it. So costs, right? When it goes into all the cars, and it's not a feature that you can actually, as an OEM, you will be able to charge for because it has to be there.
Right.
Then it comes down to making sure that the OEMs can actually they have the money and the resources to invest in this safety feature. So I think that is sort of probably the primary reason what we saw when we entered the market, that this is where we want to move. We want to help the world having safer roads and safer for people driving and walking the streets.
Right.
And secondly, I would say is validation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues is going to talk about validation for Euro NCAP later on today.
Yep.
And I think this is what's driving big parts of the cost.
Yeah.
Right. When we're saying, we talked earlier about we can do very small integration programs because we can put the cameras anywhere.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So we're reducing costs there. But if the validation cost still stays too high, then we have a challenge. So I think for us now, we are just finishing the dossier that you need to get approval from Euro NCAP. So I think that is for us a very important part as well, to make it easy for the OEM to send in the dossier to NCAP and get that approved. So I think validation, costs, and then I think one topic that maybe is not touched on so much is how do you handle the fact that there is a camera in every car? And how do you ensure that people don't get scared of that camera?
Right.
And they don't use the data in any, shady ways. So I think this is something that OEMs really have to think about. And we are, of course, happy to help with that sort of driving that thought, and how are we communicating? Because you cannot use data and in any way without being transparent to the user.
Of course, yes, of course.
So I think those three on top of my head, sort of what I think.
Absolutely. Some of the most important milestones for Tobii over the last couple of years, if you had to pick, what would you say?
Over there, our car here at InCabin, I think that is what we've really worked for 2.5 years, and now we're here. I'm sitting here with you. It's a great moment for the Tobii automotive team.
Yeah. So cars, same topic. What is your favorite car?
Oh, you told me all the questions you were going to ask, but this was what not.
Yeah.
So what is my? It's since the whole world of cars are watching this interview, so I have to be careful here.
Yes, of course.
But I would probably say, we had a very, very old Volvo in my family when I was young. And we were 4 kids. We didn't have abundance of money. So when it got a rusty hole in the bottom, my father just put in a steel plate so we could keep riding that car for another couple of years. So I think that's close to my heart.
Our dad, Alex, and I were brothers. He drove a rusted Chevy pickup for years, because the engine was still good. Peter, from all of us here at AutoVision News, we want to thank you for your time and sharing your thought leadership. Incredible demo. I encourage all of our AutoVision News readers and attendees to, if they're here, to visit the Tobii demo, or if not, they're tagged with this post, as is Peter as well. So please connect with them on LinkedIn. Peter, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Carl.